Hello! Welcome to Marvel TV Weekly. This week, at a special earlier time, we're going to discuss Marvel's 80th anniversary plans.
Oh God, it's so old.
Shut up! We're also going to talk about The Gifted. It's everybody's
not really
favorite.
Gifted at all.
Could you just let me get through this, please?
I'm letting you do your thing. Go for
We're
it.
going to talk about Gifted Season 2, Episode 2, but we're going to also talk about that movie, the big movie from this weekend.
Me. Talk about me.
Venom! We're
Don't
going to
screw
talk
this
about
up.
Venom. How about that? How about we talk about Venom? Okay, are you happy? Marvel TV Weekly starts now!
Yes, I'm happy.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz...
It's a little theater piece that Tony B. Tony and I worked on. Actually, that was all improv.
That was amazing.
Huge props to my boy in the booth, Anthony Pachur, Tony B. Tony.
Thank you.
You do a good Venom.
If Venom wants to chime in at any point during the show, like especially if he needs to tell us, you guys have 10 minutes left, something like that, that's very helpful. So Venom can talk to us, and not just this week, any week. Venom is always welcome to talk to us. In fact, we're going to come up with a clever pun for you. I know on Marvel Movie News, you're Aunt Anthony. I'm going to come up with a good Venom pun, but I don't have time right now because...
If I know it's coming from you, I know it's not going to be clever, but that's okay.
Absolutely right. It's not going to be clever. Speaking of clever, down at the other end of the desk, Amy Cassandra Martinez.
Hi, it's so good to be back. Hi.
It's so good
Yay!
Part of the reason we're here at a special early time, and also, we just wanted to come into your homes a little bit earlier. Kari Lane.
What's up, everybody? And then I'm also live in the chat. Thank you, everybody, for adjusting with the time change for us.
Yes, just for this week or maybe for a couple weeks, but we're going to sort our time out. We
Yes.
are going to move our time at some point, but boy, is it hard to do. Anyway, also with us, as always,
Hi, guys.
Zia Landerson.
That's my new name.
Yeah, I want to see the paperwork that you legally had it changed.
Oh, I'm going to. When I get married, I'm not taking his last name. I'm just going to change it to that.
Savage.
Kind of awesome. I like that. All right. I know Venom doesn't really want to talk about this, but I wanted to spend a quick minute that a little bit of the news out of New York Comic Con is that Marvel's 80th anniversary is coming up. And it's a little weird because the first actual Marvel comics came out in 1961. And if you do some quick math, that's not 80 years. But the previous companies, Timely and Atlas, I guess you go all the way back if you count the World War II comics, like the old Captain America, stuff like that. So I guess technically that is what it is. But anyway, so they have a couple of things that are getting. We're going to get a 1940s set team up between Wolverine, Captain America, and the Submariner, all characters who existed in the 40s. And if you enjoy flashback stories like that, there is a great Captain America, Wolverine, and Black Widow story in Uncanny X-Men 268. Notice I didn't look it up. It's just like an idiot savant thing, as I was talking to Zia the other day.
I'm so impressed.
I know, thank you. I was kind of saying that for you. But, and quiet. But anyway, so that'll be fun. And there's also, going to be the 700th issue of Avengers, but technically it's Avengers number 10 because they've rebooted a few times. But there's going to be a new Avenger. Slight spoiler for comic book readers. Rogue is going to be joining the Avengers. So, I know a fan favorite here at the panel.
Ooh, Carrie, we got to read those.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, all right, now we're getting into
And
that series.
she's still in the ongoing title Mr. and Mrs. X, where she is now married to Gambit. It's a fun series.
That means maybe he might make appearances.
Yeah, I was just the other day, I was chatting with our friend Michael Shirley, who used to be on this panel, and we were talking about how much we're enjoying Mr. and Mrs. X.
Nice.
And Ben Grimm, the Thing in the Fantastic Four, will indeed marry his long-term girlfriend Alicia, unlike Kitty and Colossus. They're actually going to get married. So that's just some light news, but it's all for people who are all in on these characters. You hear about stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. Now, we're going to spend a few minutes up top on The Gifted until Venom tells us we have to move along. But Amy, you watched The Gifted for the first time just this week.
Yeah.
And so you
Season two.
completely
Season two.
ignored season 1. And how did you
Like you
find
said.
how did you find that? Yes,
Yes.
that was my advice to everyone.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
dive
yeah.
in.
Yeah. Okay. So the first episode the first 15, 20 minutes of the first episode of season 2, I was like, whoa, what is going on?
Yeah, what is all this? Yeah.
But they do a good job of even with the recap, I was like, I don't know a lot of you guys, but they did a good job of really, explaining each character for you and what's going on in their lives. So I was like, okay, cool. I did know a little bit about Polaris and the Frost Sisters.
Yeah,
And that was
the
kind of
Stepford Cuckoos. Yes, they're
Yeah.
they make the show worth watching, even when it wasn't as worth watching last
I have
season.
to ask, and I should have just looked this up. Is
Yeah.
that one actress playing
Yes.
all 3 roles?
Yes.
That's
Which
impressive.
is expensive, but also, are you going to find 3 triplets that you can cast as the
Right.
same character?
Well,
so.
you
Well,
probably.
I was just wondering if they had it where they had like, you know, for the shots where you don't see your face, if there were 2 others that are close enough body doubles.
Yeah.
Oh,
Back
I'm
of
sure.
the head. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
think that they just it's like in the Social Network with the Winklevoss twins.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah, well,
Oh my gosh, you're so excited now.
well, no, because
I thought they were real twins when I
Yes.
saw it.
I did
Yes.
too. I
I was
legitimately
like,
did.
yeah, they're totally. Oh, it's one
Yeah,
guy.
I'm
That's a
the
really
hammer.
good job.
yeah, it's kind of sad.
But yes, continue.
But yeah, so once I got into the second episode, and are we like we're going into
Yeah, we're going to talk about the second
Okay.
episode. I just wanted to kind of give because Zia talked last week about how she had never watched it
Yeah.
and didn't really have too much trouble diving into episode 1 of
Yeah.
season 2. Yeah.
Amy Acker though. I was like, I know you're in it, and I'm a huge fan of Amy Acker, so that was really helpful because I was like, okay, cool. And it's funny because like the first chunk of it, I was like, I don't really know because obviously I didn't really know these characters. And as soon as I said that, she popped on screen. I was like, hi, okay,
Hi,
I'm
Amy
invested
Acker.
again. Yes. Yeah.
Do you just like her because it's also another Amy?
No, I just love her.
kidding.
since,
She likes Amy Acker, Amy Adams.
I actually do.
Amy Schumer.
Amy
Amy
Adams is
Schumer,
great.
Like
yeah.
Amy Schumer, yeah.
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 Amy's are cool
Amy's,
people.
you never
Yeah.
know.
I agree.
Totally.
Not gonna say no to that.
Since we're talking about people new to the show, so what were some of your overall thoughts for episode 2? And then I'll ask Zia the same thing, and then the old timers, Kari, and I'll talk a little bit about way back in season 1.
Yes.
It was good. I'm trying to remember, when does she have the baby in the second one?
She has the baby at the end of the first one,
Oh,
and
okay.
then we see that the baby
Yeah.
is okay at the beginning of the second
At the
episode.
beginning, yeah.
The beginning.
So
Yeah.
like the second episode for me wasn't as like super interesting because the baby was the highlight. I
Yeah.
thought, because I was like, oh my gosh, look, she's pregnant, and then the whole like contractions and that whole situation that was intense. But then the way that the second episode ended, I was like, ooh,
Yes.
so what's wrong?
Well, we'll talk about that
was
in a
interesting.
moment. So, the second episode called Unmoored, and all the episodes in the second season have a capital M, and the first season it had a capital X. So we can assume next season capital E, capital N, and then after that, I don't know what they're gonna
They're
do. Maybe just
canceled.
exclamation.
They get a golf clap
Actually,
on that
probably.
I don't want them to be. Like,
Yeah, but
you know, tell stories.
So, Zia, what did you think about season 2, episode 2 of The Gifted, as a still new viewer to the show?
It was good. It was a little bit slow, but that's fine because I understand sort of what they're trying to do, and I am finding myself oddly invested in Polaris and what was his
Flashlight.
name?
Marco.
Yeah.
On the Gifted after show, Stephen Lemieux calls him Flashlight. His name is Marco.
Flashlight.
But,
Marco. Yeah.
Marco
but-
or Marcos?
Isn't that Eclipse?
Eclipse is his superhero
Eclipse.
name, but most of them don't use it. Just Blink and Thunderbird, really. You
Yeah.
don't get a lot of the superhero names,
Yeah.
but yeah. So anyway, yes.
Well, I want them to go back with their family. Like I really do. I'm like, hey, what's and I don't know. I understand what the inner circle is trying to do, and you know, normally I wouldn't agree with those sort of tactics that they're after.
So you're more Charles Xavier than a Magneto guy.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I think a lot of us are. You know,
Yeah.
I've got my Magneto moments. But in general,
Moments.
I can't see myself being a Magneto / inner circle guy.
Mm-hmm.
Kari, what did you think about this episode, just in general? And then
Yeah. Though I would argue it's not the inner circle that's totally cray cray. They got taken over.
By
So,
True.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I like how it's progressing. I agree. I'm like, oh, they should come back together. Like it's a bad couple. They have a breakup and they'll be together later. And I liked the introduction or reintroduction of the lawyer, but I wanted
Yes.
to see more of her powers because even on the back in the day, we saw more.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, come on.
I don't know. I think those lizard powers are expensive, is what that tells me.
I think
But-
so, too.
And they're
Doesn't
like,
mean I
we're,
don't wanna see 'em."
we're using a lot of powers in these first 2
Yeah.
episodes, you know. And that was, of course, one of the biggest problems with the first season, Kari, was that not enough powers.
Yes.
And then, like, when they did, it was like, look how special this is. And we're like, no, just use them all the time. Come on.
I'm very glad that Reed's powers have resurfaced.
Yes.
He has. I want to say they're kind of like decomposition.
Yeah.
Which is like a character in My Hero Academia. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like tomorrow. But I was glad that happened because I feel his character couldn't really stick around the same way if he didn't get powers.
Yeah.
And I think I'm enjoying the development of Blink and Thunderbird's relationship continuing to grow, and them being a really good, like, almost they're like new leaders of their team.
Yeah.
So they're the level-headed.
They're
leaders.
like the Rock of the underground at this point.
Yeah.
And I don't mean Dwayne Johnson. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you know, the sort of the foundation that you can build on. Although that's kind of Dwayne Johnson. When you're putting a movie together, he is the foundation that you start with. Go ahead, Anthony.
I do have one gripe with this. That the whole Thunderbird and Blink is like, didn't it feel like a little shoehorned how he has those flashbacks to the one who could mess with alter people's memories and whatnot? Dreamer. Yeah. Didn't that feel a little shoehorned? Because like there hasn't been much of a conflict within Thunderbird like after she died, so like you haven't really seen those feelings come up until this moment.
I have a thought about that. If you'd like to hear it, I think she's not dead.
No,
and
I
they
wouldn't.
wanted to remind. Oh, all right. Well, we have to move on because
Venom
there's a voice in
didn't
my
wanna
head
hear
that tells me.
Someone kind of pointed out Andy and Lauren's relationship.
Yeah.
I think I almost went, wait, are they twins? I'm like, no, they're not twins. But
She's a couple years older than
I
him.
feel their
Yeah.
relationship as siblings and / their powers makes it more of a twin relationship, which makes it less weird that they're so connected.
Yeah, I mean they do explain that when they joined their powers last year, which is something you ladies would have seen
They
in the flashback.
become one.
Yeah, but then there's sort of like a psychic bond
But not
as a result.
in like a sexy way, but more like
I hope
It's
not.
like Harry Potter.
Yeah,
no,
not-
but like it's more
Yeah.
they've switched bodies and
Yeah.
you know they are literally one person. So I still think Andy's a little bit too whine.
Yeah, a little bit like my stupid powers don't work. What am I gonna do? I'm
having enough.
And I don't.
But
I've never been Team Andy. I like that this is sort of like I'm trying to be a bad guy, Andy, but it's like you still don't have it in you. You know?
I like that Lauren still is like he left. You know, I'm like thank you.
Yeah.
Is it Evelyn? What's her name? The,
Evangeline, the
Evangeline,
lawyer.
I was
Yeah.
close. No, wait, what's the lady of the inner
Reva.
circle now?
Oh, Reva, yeah.
Her, I was like, ooh, I
Nice.
did like her. You cannot have an off day. I'm like, oh, she
Yeah.
is scary now.
Yeah.
And the
like,
fact
oh.
that she was about to kill him for
Yes.
lying to her, I'm like, all right, she's not messing around.
Do it.
And I was gonna say I wasn't. Do it. I wasn't. Yeah, I was. Not, I was not saying.
Scared of it.
It was basically like, oh no, please don't. No, that's Andy. Don't do it. Oh, we'll be so sad. Stop it. Yeah, that's kind of where I was at.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, not Andy. He's our friend. But so.
Though the course of action she has of kill literally anybody who gets in your way is not really that great long term.
But I don't know. I guess it depends on just how powerful you are. Because if you can get at the top of the pyramid, everything's gonna be
That's
okay.
true.
Yeah. So the Andy in this episode was very reminiscent of season 1 Andy, and I know there were only 2 episodes into season 2, and it was just like, oh, these are all the things I didn't like about him. Just shut up and use your powers and try and be, and just pretend you're a tough guy. Stop complaining.
Yeah.
And then also like. Thunderbird seemed to, look, he has his reasons, but I was just like, man, they did something to him in this episode, and I was like, I always like him. He was like one of the first season. He was one of the only characters I liked.
He had an off episode.
You know what? Andy,
not allowed to have an off
Andy had an off
episode.
day. No, but in Underground, you're allowed to have an off episode. The weakest thing in this whole episode was that storyline about the mutant who was reunited with her sister. It was almost like, look, here she is, now get out. And I was just like, why are you wasting our time with this?
Afterthought.
Yeah, like why am I pretending that I care? Because I don't.
Yeah. Well, and I forgot about that. So when it happened, I was like, oh, okay. I don't.
Yeah, they make
That's
such
right,
a
yeah.
big deal about
Yeah.
it, and then it's
Yeah.
like, and we're done. What? Huh?
So the one thing that happens, but we'll talk about the end in a second. We get the information about Erg, who is one of the Morlocks. So I'm hoping we get the Morlocks next week. But also next week we're going to have to deal with sick little baby Dawn, and I've had plenty of sick kids in the last couple of weeks. So I was like, oh no, this is not good. Lorna's not ready for that. And I don't even have mutant powers of magnetism, as far as anyone knows. So it'd probably maybe be a little easier for her. So if you saw the previews for next week, we might get to see a brief family reunion because of that. So that'll be exciting, and hopefully Baby Dawn's okay, and then maybe get her out of a place called the Hellfire Club. That doesn't seem like a place for a baby.
No.
No. All right. So the big topic we have this week, and I can't even remember what it was. There had been a voice in my head that was telling me, but I don't know. Should we just end early, or is there somebody that's going to tell us anything? Anyway.
Venom.
Oh, right. That's it. We're going to talk about Venom, and where we're going to start is the surprise box office for Venom.
Yes.
And luckily on this panel, we have half of this panel is the panel for box office breakdown on Popcorn Talk, our sister network. So I wanted to let you ladies talk a little bit about it. Amy, talk a little bit about what the box office was, and I don't know if you guys have what projections were and stuff like that. Just cover it as you would have for that show. Just let our audience know.
It got $80 million.
And you know what? And you know how much of that I gave it?
All right.
8. I gave it $8 because I went to the early bird show at 10:30 in the morning. So,
Big spender, big spender.
you get all 8 of those dollars, Venom.
So it was number 1 at the box office. And
Suck it, Star is Born.
all right, whoa.
Sorry, I'm with him.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's okay.
Right here.
It was
4,000 screens.
Yeah.
So
little over
yeah,
4,000.
I mean, like it was interesting. I think a lot of people were kind of underestimating
Yes.
the power that.
And were they
nerds have.
overestimating Lady Gaga?
I don't think so.
okay.
Sassy pant.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
It's okay. Well, anyway.
I do like Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, he does a good job.
Yeah, great.
But yeah, I think a lot of us, when we were talking about this on Box Office Breakdown, a lot of us went into it thinking like it's going to be a piece of crap.
Mm-hmm.
We got kind of scared. Even though we were hopeful, everyone and their mother was like, it sucks. So I think
A lot of negativity online.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's what I heard.
It's mostly negativity.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll admit that what I wrote about it afterwards was like half negative. So I like half contributed.
Okay.
Okay.
But
so
I half
far,
really liked
all
it,
of our
so.
chat is 100% positive. Though I did have a quick conversation with another host outside that I'm like, I don't know him, so I don't know his name. But I pointed out he said he didn't like it all, and I was like, specifically, what didn't you like?
Yeah.
And some of it was a tonality to it
Yes.
that I'm like, it's a superhero movie. They can go outside so many rules because it's a superhero movie.
True.
Our present superhero movies are more realistic, but they have been quirky and crazy over the top and
mean,
out
Thor
there,
Ragnarok.
which makes it work.
Yeah.
What
So-
was it that was so out there, though? Because maybe because my expectations
They
are...
felt the script was a little bit all over
Well,
the place.
here's what I'll say about that. I think that they did a nice job on the script, and I would love to read it when they finish writing it because the script was really, really weak. But I didn't care because I love the Venom effects, the Venom voice, which, as Anthony pointed out, also Tom Hardy. It's great, so funny. That's exactly what I want out of him.
Yeah.
And I thought Tom Hardy made an interesting choice in his portrayal of Eddie Brock, but it really worked. Like at first, I'm like, why is he talking like that? What's wrong? Is there something stuck in his mouth? But then
I
I'm
got a parasite.
yeah, and I love the back and forth about Parasite and stuff like that.
no,
so,
that was funny. He's like, that's rude.
yeah, exactly.
Parasite?
Apologize. Call me a parasite.
And
They were
yeah,
funny
that.
together.
They were
they're-
really
they're-
funny.
And you felt like it was two people.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that Venom was the loser on his planet.
Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
I love that part.
that was great.
He's like, yeah, in my world, I was a loser, just like you. And, that's sort of, I was talking with Brianna here at AfterBuzz beforehand, and she was sort of talking about, like, well, what is it that made him decide, like, yeah, I don't want to bring more of me back to overrun.
There's
the
a
world.
lot of things.
There's several.
And he
It's
lists them all.
He actually, he really likes Eddie. And I
Yes.
think after he has the time where he's bonded with Michelle Williams' character, I think he's
He
like.
likes her too.
He likes her, and then he
love
understands,
that part at the
and then
end.
it's like, oh wait, I think I understand what like love is. I understand that
Yeah.
concept. All right, maybe these people are okay. And then
fine, it's
also
beautiful.
he's like, I don't want I don't want to bring all the high school bullies back.
Yeah.
Like I just want to be here, and like where it's cool to be
Eat the evil people
a
and-
nerd symbiote. Yeah, where you can just bite heads off of. So what were go ahead.
Rory in the chat says, in the comics, it's true. Venom was the runt, or was a runt.
right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
And Liberty Littman says in the chat, you can see it from the trailer. It had the 2000s set and tone, which you could argue is more like our superhero movies that came out in 2000, which, if you like that or not and what are you used to,
it's more
might affect your review.
It feels, in a way, like the Ang Lee Hulk and movies that weren't really part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
When you were talking about, somebody had made the comments about it being unrealistic, I would say it's far more realistic than, say, the Green Lantern movie. Yeah, I'm beating up on DC, but that's a pretty good example of like a movie that just like, whatever, let's just go ahead and
like
we'll
that
see people.
one, though.
I know people that liked it, and there were things about
that
it.
gets a lot of hate too.
Not undeservedly, I think.
Well, the one thing with this one though too, what do you think on casting of the other characters? I thought Michelle Williams had her moments where she was entertaining and stuff. I said it on the other show, but I'm like, I didn't like her hair. I was like, that's a bad
I'm
wig.
glad
Wait a
I'm
minute.
not the only one.
And okay, so
Someone
the
likes a
two,
wig.
the
Did not
two of
like
you have
it.
said that. Brianna said exactly the same
Yes.
thing. We have to ask Amy, Michelle Williams' hair in the movie. What do you think?
So it bothered me for the first couple of minutes, and then I was like, whatever.
Okay.
It's not that big a deal.
let it go.
That's where I was. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Jen Lindley looks weird. Oh, whatever.
I honestly did
Just
not.
shout out for all my Dawson Creek fans.
Just looks fake. It looked like fake hair.
It did look like
Yeah.
fake hair, and there was no reason for it to be under her. That was the
It
whole...
was bad. Interesting. I agree with this though too. Jay Snowden in the chat says a highlight of the movie was Hardy and Williams' chemistry. I thought they were entertaining together, and actually, I'd go with the threesome of Hardy, Venom, and Williams.
Love
together.
that. Was one of my favorite parts of the movie when he was talking to Hardy or Eddie
Yeah.
Brock,
Eddie Brock, yeah.
and was like, she doesn't know we're going to get
Yeah,
her back.
I love that.
was like, yes.
Yeah, because I was
amazing.
all into on the Venom character by
Yes.
that point in the
Yeah.
movie. So
Yes.
it's like it's fun, it's funny, and my favorite movie, probably my favorite moment in the movie is when they're up in the building and he's like, jump, and then he's just at the elevator and he's like, pussy,
Yes.
and I was just like, oh, Venom, I love you.
That was so
Everyone
great.
laughed in the theater,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Not to spoil it because I'm like,
What?
when they had the part from the trailer of getting revenge on the bully at the convenience store, how the moments before tied in that you don't see in the trailer was so much more rewarding because it's funny in the trailer.
Yeah.
But the moments that happen before make it like, oh yes.
And in case you're wondering, we will talk about the mid-credits scene, but we're going to save it for the very end of the show
Yeah.
because
Later, buddy.
it's very spoilery. But so I
what do
just
you
want
think-
everybody to know we will talk about it, but we're going to save a couple minutes at the end of the show because we want to still talk a little bit generally. We're going to give away a couple jokes and some things in the movie, but not like huge plot points. So
Rory in the chat makes a good point of Stanley cameo was one of the best.
that was a great Stanley cameo, which sometimes, like, he was in the Sony first Amazing Spider-Man. He was
Was he in like a billboard or something?
Well, no, that happens in some other movies, but
that's
in
another one.
Amazing Spider-Man, that's the first Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
He's a janitor at the high school
yeah.
when he's fighting the lizard, and he has his
Yeah.
headphones on, so he's like cleaning up, and he has no idea this is happening.
Yeah.
But you don't see him in all of the Sony or Fox movies. You see him in some of them. So I actually wasn't expecting it, and I sort of like how he talked to Eddie Brock, and he was like, both of you, because he's Stanley and he knows. And Venom has like a great, who is that guy? And then he sees the dog, and the dog looks delicious. And I was like, that's one of my favorite Stanley cameos. My favorite is still Deadpool when he's a DJ at a strip club. That's still, hands down, my favorite Stanley cameo.
I would say going more meta of it too, knowing how his health has been kind of not that great. I'm like, oh, he's still in the movies.
Yes.
You know, because then you like get worried.
Well, a lot of times for the Marvel, the MCU movies, they'll do like 5 of them in a week. They'll have him on a soundstage. I don't know if they do it in LA or if he actually goes to Atlanta where they film a lot of them, but like he'll do a bunch of them. Okay. And so that's why sometimes if you look at them really closely, like it was in Homecoming, I think, where he's like shouting out the window. If you look at it, like it's really tight on the window and it doesn't actually match.
But it's still
like
great. I'm glad he's still in it, and
Yeah.
it's still a cute cameo for sure.
Yeah, and that was a great moment because I wasn't expecting him. Yes.
And Jay Snowden in the chat, Venom the Pampion was hilarious. The dog.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh my god.
Forgot about
Yes.
that. Yeah. And he just like looks up at Michelle Williams.
Yes,
Yeah, that was actually nice.
Good acting there.
There's kind of like a nod to it in the music video for Venom.
Which we
M&Ms.
heard at the top of the show. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, which is another
Really
exciting
good.
part because I had no idea there was an Eminem song. in the movie. I just
neither.
didn't know. I mean, you know,
Guys,
I'm not.
Eminem.
Yes.
I'm not in the Marshall Mathers fan club.
It's
I don't
okay.
know.
With
I
it, you
am.
square.
I know. I'm sorry. All right, I'll get better. I don't know how everybody can hear Venom. I thought it was just me. But wait
I'm
a minute.
loud.
Yes, it was very loud. So there's a couple of little Easter eggs that I'm going to mention. It's not going to ruin anything for anybody. Early in the movie, I wanted to touch on two things. So early in the movie, there is a cameo from a supporting character from the Spider-Man universe. He actually first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man #1, the original Amazing Spider-Man #1 from 1962, and that is John Jameson, who is the son of Jolly J. Jonah Jameson. He is indeed an astronaut.
That punk.
And did he look delicious, Venom?
He looked very delicious.
Yeah. So that's who that is. That's John Jameson.
Which character?
He's an astronaut in the beginning part. When there's the one that survives the crash.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's John Jameson.
Yeah. Oh.
And then also it's like a super obscure thing, but when Michelle Williams says about like, oh, we don't want a repeat of New York when you get
Yeah.
fired from the Daily Globe. The Daily Globe is the competing newspaper of the Daily Bugle, and at one point, maybe around like Amazing Spider-Man, like 20-ish, like in the 60s, Peter actually started selling his pictures to the Daily Globe because they were giving him more money. And so it was like, take that, Jonah. So, and the guy that he calls Bushkin, that's a character from it's like the old Steve Ditko Amazing Spider-Man. So it's before 33 or whatever. That's how I kind of remember what he looked like. So those are a couple little ones. And then we'll have the credit scene. We'll talk about that later. That's, of course, there's a lot of explanation.
Also, not that credit scene and not a spoiler. Stay for the second post-credit thing where you get a whole clip.
We just talk about that right now. That was great
Little
because
Spidey clip.
I'm so excited for Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
And then we just got a lot of Spider-Verse. And I went with my friend Will, who I do my personal podcast, The Blackcast, with. Blackcast.com, BLADTCAST.com. And he just looked at me and he's like, who is that? And I'm like, wait, you don't know Peter Porker, the spectacular Spider Ham? Tony in the booth, can you do a Google image search on Peter Porker, the spectacular Spider Ham?
I love how they're all up on the ceiling and going around, and Spider-Ham is like, wait, do pigs talk in this universe? Because I don't want to freak
Animals,
anyone out.
It's the very recognizable voice of John Mulaney, the comedian. And it's like, do animals talk in this universe? And the guy just passes out. So it was great.
Which that character looks like the friend from Spider-Man Homecoming to me. A little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Made me think it's that.
That's like a really cool version of him.
Yeah.
He started
Oh, wow.
he basically started as a joke. There was a Mad Magazine style Marvel comic called What the? And you had this character in there. He got his own series. It's very silly, very tongue-in-cheek. It's a straight up parody of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So Spider-Ham, I love that Spider-Ham is in this
Wait,
movie.
real quick. You're talking about the second post-credit scene, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're not talking about the first one. We skipped the first one.
And that's like in another universe.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
says in another universe.
Wait,
Yeah.
Spider-Ham came out in it?
So,
Yeah.
I thought that was just in the
it's
trailer.
a multiverse.
Yes.
So there's a lot. So that you have Spider-Gwen, and you
Who's
have
a cute little anime girl too? I was like, wait, there's that, and then there's
that
also.
Wait, I saw a different post-credit scene.
I don't think you did.
No, it was a whole scene of Miles chasing. Yeah, and he
Yes.
gets dragged through the subway and everything.
Did you
yeah.
stay
Did
till
you
the
stay?
end? Because everything we're talking about with Spider-Ham,
It's in that.
it's all in that.
And Spider-Gwen.
I
And
thought
Spider-Gwen.
I did. Okay.
Or at least
Maybe
there's
somebody-
a trailer
Yeah,
online.
same.
Maybe
No.
somebody had to pee, but that's what I saw. Yeah.
Well, because then there's also the noir one too in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I was already excited for that movie, and then I got to see some of it. And, again, at the end of the movie, I was like, I got to go. I kind of want to go to the bathroom. I'm like, oh, my God, it's Spider-Verse. So I was very excited. And, of course, as we've talked about before, Jake Johnson as Peter Parker is an older,
Love it.
Yes.
fatter Peter Parker. Yeah.
Yes.
So I love all of that. So that's very exciting. We'll have, I don't know, maybe like 5 more minutes. We'll talk about that, the end credit scene. I wanted to take a quick moment and talk about one of the things that's a little bit of, it's not even a problem for the movie. It's a logic flaw. And I wanted to talk a little bit about who Venom is and how we ended up with Venom. So that's where we have the image that I sent, Anthony, which is, it's drawn by Todd McFarlane from Amazing Spider-Man 300, which is the first full appearance of the character as Venom. And that's what he's supposed to look like with the black, the white spider on the black suit from the black spider suit. Obviously, you can't do that. He still kind of has the eyes in the movie, but so what becomes Venom starts out as Spider-Man's black costume. It is indeed a symbiote, and it is killing him very slowly. And Reed Richards, the Fantastic Four, is like, yeah, you got to get rid of this thing. It's going to kill you. He figures out how to get rid of it. Anyway, but the reason why Venom can do what Venom can do is because he was bonded with Spider-Man, so he has Spider-Man's powers. And this just happens to have Spider-Man's powers. No need to explain. It's not a huge problem with what was ultimately a fun movie. But it's like, I just wish that they had figured out a way that they could have had this be part of Spider-Man's story. But this is the problem with Sony. They focus on, we got to get to the other movie. One of the biggest problems with Amazing Spider-Man 2, the second Andrew Garfield movie, was they were setting up a Sinister Six movie, which will never come out. They were setting up Amazing Spider-Man 3 with the Green Goblin, which will never come out. So they didn't tell the story. This is fine. I just wish that we could have had sort of that interaction with Peter, having it. And I also kind of hoped that there was going to be a cameo from Tom Holland, like maybe on a field trip or something. Just like a second. I was just like, oh, maybe we'll see him at the end.
Couldn't you go to almost like an alternate universe version of it then? Because I was okay with it that way, knowing I'm like, no, they.
Yeah, but I think there's the nods to the Spider-Man universe because they're like, all right, well, maybe you'll get to see that one day. So, that's kind of what they're trying to tell us.
Real quick, actually, you did mention that we'll probably never see the Sinister Six movie?
That Sinister Six
okay,
movie.
because I was about to say, the whole Morbius with Jared Leto, along with this film, I think it's like they're trying to rev up for it's a potential
there will be
Six.
a Sinister Six movie, but it just won't be the one that they planted all the seeds. Like BJ Novak as the Smythe who does the Spider Slayer. Like there's a lot of stuff in
Paul
there.
Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti as the Rhino.
That was horrible.
Okay, according to the chat, though, I think our collective brains have seen the trailer enough because everyone in the chat's like, no, it's just like the scene and not the trailer. But I thought when I saw it had the trailer.
Everyone's saying it's a trailer.
I swear to you, I saw it on Friday.
I saw that too.
In
Saturday.
the theater in North Hollywood, the Cinemark. So maybe different chains. Maybe different chains have different things.
Yeah.
I just know that I saw Spider-Ham because my friend asked me, who is that? And I'm like, it's Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham. Why do I have to keep saying it? Probably because it's so fun to say. Anyway,
Porker.
So it's, the Eddie Brock character is more faithfully used in the Disney XD series, Marvel's Spider-Man. And you kind of see Eddie Brock as a competing photographer for the Daily Bugle. And, he ends up bonding with Venom, all that. This is similar. He's a reporter.
I liked where they took him in this direction because he's kind of charming and interesting, and that makes like how it goes wrong more.
Yeah.
And
understandable.
Also, you're more invested in the character. I feel like you need to be, especially if it's a standalone movie. He's not just a side character or a villain character. You have to be invested in him, and you have to be invested in Eddie. So it's kind of, they needed to make him more charming and likable for you to care.
Well, especially because when we meet the Venom creature, it's just flat out evil. So we need to really have it balanced. Like Eddie has to be a little bit more likable. So.
He's not perfect, but he's likable.
Ultimately, the movie ended. I'm like, well, that was fun. Yeah. Definitely flawed in a number of ways, but it's not enough that it made me be like, oh, I didn't like it.
One of the biggest things was that I liked it the way they did Venom. The Venom animation, that was the hugest thing to me. They did that good. I was happy.
It wouldn't have looked that good 10 years ago, and it would have looked awful 20 years ago.
Yes.
It would have looked terrible 20 years ago. So, yes.
I just want to say real quick. Also, like the action, I felt was so incredible. Like I really liked the action. In this
car chases aren't always great, but this was really cool with sort of Venom taking over the motorcycle. I thought that was all great. Yeah. So. In general, I liked it.
It doesn't do the R, but it was still like intense fight scenes.
Yeah. We didn't get. There were not nearly enough heads bitten off.
Yeah.
And when Venom says like bite off all their heads, piles of bodies, piles of heads, I'm like, yes, that's what I want from this movie. Right. Piles of bodies and piles of heads.
That's later.
We don't get piles.
He's ground him down a little bit, but like it's okay.
Also, there was one F-bomb.
Yes,
I counted.
You can get away. You can get away with one. I think that's what it is for PG-13. You can get one.
It was like the perfectly placed one where they have to go up against who, and they're like, all right, but F it.
All right, so Tony, speaking of just F it, let's bring down the spoiler alert curtain because I know how concerned people get about these things. So if
Finally, it's time.
Yeah, it is finally time.
Spoiler alert.
Thank you.
Spoiler
And
alert.
if you haven't seen
Spoiler
it,
alert.
we haven't really ruined it yet.
alert.
We're just about to ruin the end credits thing, which also doesn't ruin the movie itself. So we see at the end, we see that Eddie has a very special interview. And, for fans of the comics, you start to get a little bit more excited. And then just moviegoers, you're just like, hey, it's Woody Harrelson. I love Woody Harrelson. And then you go like, yeah, but what in the hell is that on his head?
Like his carrot top hair?
Yeah, what is he?
Flaming carrot top hair.
Yeah.
So red.
Yeah, exactly.
ugly.
And so they give him the last line of it's going to be Carnage. And that's like, okay, so you've probably heard of Carnage at some point, And it is indeed, that's what it is. And the original Carnage is basically Venom breaks into prison to get Eddie Brock out of prison, and he leaves behind a little Venom spawn, which turns into Carnage. So that's how you get Carnage. And Eddie's cellmate, oddly enough, is a notorious serial killer named Cletus Cassidy. And that is who Woody Harrelson is. And it's kind of exciting to see him, but the wig, what are you doing? Like that's very distracting. Zia, your thoughts on the wig?
It looked like he was wearing a Raggedy Ann doll on his head.
Yeah. But just in time, I bet that there was some awesome Cletus Cassidy, Woody Harrelson cosplay at New York Comic Con this weekend.
Oh, I bet.
Where you're just like, yeah, great, I'm just going to put...
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Amy, were you just like, what the heck did I just watch after that? And did you have to do some hardcore research to find out who Cletus Cassidy / Carnage are?
Well, when Eddie Brock got into the prison and
Sure.
I saw Woody, I was like, oh my gosh, Woody. But then I was like, what the heck, right? So
Yeah,
obviously
sure.
we were all thinking, that's disgusting. Take that off. But when
Take off your hair.
Yeah, when he said, oh, it's going to be Carnage, I was like, oh, that was so cheesy. But I know who you are now. And it's
Yeah.
just like, ew. It could have been way better. And it just like, dude.
What were your
It was
thoughts?
a bit spoon-fed.
Yeah, it's a little
But
bit.
it's fine. I didn't love the wig because it's one of those, like, they can do so much better.
It's so distracting
was
because it's so
distracting.
bad. Like, just don't have him have a wig. If
I'm
that's,
okay with him being bald.
if
Be
that's
like,
what the prop
oh,
department,
yeah.
if
Just
the prop
have red
department is like,
peach
here's the wig for Woody.
Ooh, yes.
What's that?
Just have red peach fuzz.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
You know?
That's
Yeah.
great.
That
Yeah.
would have been great.
Yeah.
Kind of off topic rewind, but super funny. So do we feel that Eddie and Venom people are shipping them?
I mean, there
Luna
are,
in the chat says, me here sitting with knowledge that everyone came out shipping Eddie and Venom. I'm like, yeah.
that's very
totally.
funny, but they're already together. So
Yeah,
what we're
they are
shipping,
together,
what
yeah.
we're shipping is the aforementioned threesome with
Yes.
Michelle Williams.
I'm shipping
Who that
that.
character, like in the comic books, is his ex-wife.
Oh
so
yeah,
it's-
I shipped that real hard.
Yeah.
All aboard that shit.
So that's a little bit of the explanation there. And when the movie ended, because it had gotten so much press, I was watching it Friday morning, and I'm like, oh great, so that's a mid-credit scene for a Carnage movie that we're never going to get. But you're talking about $80 million. And
Yeah.
internationally is going to be important. It always is for movies like this. I feel like we're going to get another of these movies, which
Yeah.
going into the movie, from what the bad press, I was just like, oh, yeah, well, we'll see the one Venom movie, I guess.
Here's my quick prediction for the next film, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it starts off with us with Cletus in the jail, right? First thing that goes, his hair. They shave his hair.
Nah.
If they-
There you go.
Like Medusa and
Yeah.
the Inhumans. It's just like, no, gotta go.
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
People
Now-
I'm sure people are going to complain about this on social media, and they're
Oh,
going to
yeah.
make him shave it, like
They already
change
have.
that hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we think they made the 80 million because it was the PG-13 and not the R?
It's
No.
a great point. I don't think so,
don't think
but
so
they
either.
probably have their tracking that says, like, see, look how smart it is that we did it. Which means that the next one will also be PG-13. Look, they're going to probably, for suckers like me, they're going to put out a Blu-ray of an R-rated
Yeah.
cut. Which
I'm all for it.
I'm going to buy.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to
Heck
buy
yes.
because I want to own it. So anyway, that's our thoughts on Venom. So if you're watching the archived version of this, which probably a lot of people are because we're not on at our normal time, go ahead and leave your comments down below, and we will read those in the future. Speaking of the future, on next week's show, I will not be here. But sitting way over at this end of the desk will be our very own Zia Landerson. And Zia, what are you going to be giving our audience?
I don't know yet. You guys are going to have to wait and see.
Oh, I want the description.
know.
The description is going to say the main thing that you're going to give people.
We are going to talk about the episode 3 of The Gifted.
Right. But then you're also going to recap something that's coming up
talking about the devil.
weekend after. Yeah.
The devil.
So that's what we had talked about.
Oh my gosh, I forgot that's coming out so soon.
So that's why I
Daredevil.
said that I wanted you to do a Daredevil recap of seasons 1, 2, and Defenders. Obviously,
Apparently, Venom was not feeding her the information.
No.
The light was on.
No, but I think he actually did tell me this.
It was in the text. I couldn't read the text, but that's not fun.
It's there.
Yeah. So anyway, so Zia will be over here, and there'll be other fun things to talk about, which you'll figure out. But the key to what I want in the description, people see on YouTube, recap Daredevil seasons 1 and 2. Like, yes, because I need that. I remember it, but I need to just be brought up to speed on all the minutia, and then whatever else he wants to talk about. And we'll let you know what time that's at. It might be at this time, might be at our normal time, might be at a different time. So follow everybody on Twitter, including Zia. Where do people find you?
At Zia_land. It's XIA_land.
I was afraid Venom was going to have to tell you what that was. It looked like there was a blank look for a
Just
second.
a moment.
Can't do everything for you.
Carrie, where do people find you?
Yes, you can find me online at Kari D Lane. That's KARIDLANE. Thank you, everybody who was joining us in the live chat.
Yeah, especially at a different time. That kind of happened last minute. So thanks, everybody. And Amy, where do people find you?
You guys can find me on all social media at Amy Cassandra MTZ.
And you can find Tony in the booth at TonyBTony_. And Venom, you can find him. He's everywhere in your local theaters and even on my cup.
I'm inside of all of you.
Kind of. And you can find me at ChristianDMZ. And in a few hours on AfterBuzz TV, I will be sitting in as a guest on a show that Zia is going to be a regular on the panel, the Doctor Who After Show,
Are
which
you
will
going to be able to stay up that late?
No, I'm going to need you to keep me awake. So at 9 p.m. Pacific, which, yes, is midnight Eastern, but it's very exciting because it's the first episode with the new Doctor, Jodie Whittaker. Yes! So make sure you tune in on that. You'll see Zia, myself, and our friend Zach Wilson. But then you'll see everybody basically except me back here next week. So they will see everyone next time on this show. Until then, Excelsior!
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.